All right, you know what's crazy? There are over 45,000 denominations of Christianity globally. And I think if you went up to those denominations and asked for their definition or interpretation of Christianity, it wouldn't be exactly the same, which is why the 45,000 denominations exist. But apparently, with velocity banking, there's only one strict definition, and we're not allowed to have different interpretations of the same thing, right? And so the reason I'm talking about this is because I had a conversation or a back and forth comment flame thread. I don't know. Back and forth with Learn and Grow Rich Now. So if you don't know who this guy is, basically he's been making videos about how velocity banking is a scam. They're lying to you. Accelerated banking scam. Replace your mortgage scam. Velocity banking, the $1 billion scam, right? And I kind of called him out, right? And he's saying, he went on like the Better Wealth podcast or whatever it is. Like, this is so bad that I have to start a lawsuit over it, and this is harming people. And I said, okay, well, what about this real life example with that I got as an email, where out of the blue about help switching to velocity banking. Right, person had $5,400 of income, $300,000 debt, 3 credit cards, and I remember when I opened this up for the first time, I was just blown away. And you might say, well, why is that? It's because this person literally had $4.10 in savings for the month in the budget and had 22 debts. I'm not kidding. I could not make this up. And so I remember when I saw this, my mind was like blown away. And I said, you know what? I'll just do a demo of this and, you take what you can from it. And so we used a line of credit, maxed out line of credit, cycle through debt, put your paycheck in, expenses out, paycheck in. And then we kind of went through all of this. And, we estimated in 10 years, this person we debt free with $300,000 of debt paid off. And so my question to him, and I knew this was a question that he couldn't really answer, because whether you answer yes or no is you're going to look bad regardless of how you answer, right? My question to him was, hey, if this strategy is so flawed and doesn't help anybody, well, let's take a look at this person who actually is asking for help. Should I have turned this person away and told them this strategy is a scam and not have done the demonstration? Because I remember at the end of the demonstration, a lot of people were blown away and amazed, including myself. And I saw a path or a light forward, or I saw a path forward. There was a light where you could walk through and say, "Oh my goodness, like maybe I can get out of this," right? And basically, he weaseled out of it because he says the people you shared in your example are not asking for help on velocity banking. And look at the next four words, as I define it. Right. So this thing that I shared with the internet is not velocity banking. Using your lines of credit and then cycling through debt is not velocity banking. That's not it. And here's the thing, right? Like, we can have different interpretations of things. One of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel is because when I saw velocity banking being taught on YouTube, I was like, I don't know. I don't like how it's being taught, right? Using whiteboard instead of Excel, telling everybody to put every loan into a line of credit rather than doing strategically. And so, we have different interpretations. Okay. I learned 80 to 90% of velocity banking in Renatus because that's where I even first heard the term Renatus. And I'm pretty sure this guy did too, because he used to be a marketer for Renatus. And so, as I kind of became comfortable with the topic, right, then I made a few tweaks about how I presented it. And a lot of you have told me that I am the clearest when it comes to velocity banking, right? And that's because that it took me a while to grasp, like, what is the question I was asking is, how does this benefit people, or does this benefit people even at all, right? So when I get emails like the one that's asking for help, I say, oh wow, this could actually help people, right? And so basically, he just said that, that thing you showed, not velocity banking. No, no, it's not it. Not as I define it. And apparently, we're allowed to have 40,000 different interpretations of Christianity, but velocity banking, nope. Only this guy's definition. And his basically his definition is that it's only chunking, which is just you just move a piece of a loan into a line of credit. And here, right? That is just only a little one aspect of it, and I've always said in other videos that it's probably the least important aspect, but it's an aspect of it, right? And then we even did chunking on this 4% mortgage. Okay, could there have been a better way? I mean, you could do extra payments, right? But just to show the strategy from the start to the end, we're able to show an estimated payoff of 300K 10 years debt free. Okay. And you know what's crazy? Like, at universities, academia, they expect like grad students to always be doing research, being the best and forefront in their fields. But according to velocity banking, or according to this guy, velocity banking is this orthodox thing that can never change, even though it's a marketing term by Renatus, invented in like the 2010s, And I even went through a back and forth with him, and basically he tried to weasel out of the question because think about it. The question I asked to him was like, "Hey, if this person asks you for help, or let's say I'm listening to you and this person asks me for help because you say the strategy is so bad, should I turn this person away and tell them to go away because I don't want them to be scammed?" So if we answer yes, then that means there's no demonstration and no sense of hope that, hey, you could be helped, right? And I honestly think, wow, we are helping people. And if we say no, we shouldn't turn them away. That's basically saying that, hey, this thing called velocity banking could help people, which he doesn't want to even consider because he's starting a lawsuit against Bob Snyder, Renatus, and all that. And do I think Renatus is perfect? No. I mean, there are things that could be better, right? But I don't see a reason to like fully start a lawsuit because lawsuits don't really, in my opinion, do anything. But yeah, so basically we kind of went back and forth, and he's just like saying, "You know what? I posted this 20-page PDF. You tell me where I'm wrong." And I said, I never said that you were wrong. I never talked about the math, right? Like I asked you a question, which is if someone like this person sends you an email asking you for help, do you turn them away? And basically he's just trying to do semantics, saying, like the 24-page report, okay? We can't analyze something until we define it, right? And I'm like, all right, well, people can have different interpretations of the same thing, but according to this guy, we can't. We cannot. I mean, I'm using lines of credit this way, but this is not velocity banking according to him. Okay, you know what this is according to him? Helping people with their finances and defined as velocity banking. Helping people with their fine. And you know what the funny thing about this guy is that I made a video about our conversation. I kind of put the thumbnail, did that, and then he wrote a comment. "I don't need to say much here as your video and character say everything I need to say. I wish you the best, my friend," says the guy who makes the YouTube videos about other people calling them scam artists and then starting a lawsuit with Renatus, right? "I'm taking the high road." Why not just address my question? Right? Why not? Why try to weasel out like this? Okay, this is not. This is some weird gaslighting. Obi-Wan Kenobi. These are not the droids you're looking for. Okay, like that's not velocity banking. Let me wave my hand. These are people asking for help with their finances who have they're confused, right? They're confused, even though in the email it says velocity banking. I crossed this out and says this is helping people with their finances. It's not, but okay. But when we did the live stream, we said it was velocity banking, but apparently this isn't it. Apparently, this is this orthodox thing that only one person can define what it is, and multiple people can have different interpretations. Even though in almost anything, even religion, people have different interpretations. Even academia, people are expected to do research and come up with new things and new definitions and all that. Nope. Velocity banking only said his definition matters, right? And then he's just basically saying that, this is incredibly flawed, right? So I would say it shouldn't be applied to any demographic because it is mathematically flawed. So he's basically saying that this could not apply to this person. And because he did not want to admit that, hey, maybe it could help people because he has that lawsuit against Renatus and Bob Snyder and blah, 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 right? It's like, this is not velocity banking. This is not it. Roll my eyes, right? Robert Downey Jr., cue roll eyes. Okay. So I don't know. I feel like I can make 100 videos about this. This is more content for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he basically just tried to weasel out of my question. I mean, look at if you want to see this, go to the YouTube comment posts and then look for the please notice me senpai, and then you could view the entire conversation. And basically, he's just saying, I've proven this math and incorrect is 20. And I didn't even ask about the math. I just asked a question that he couldn't answer properly. So he just weaseled out of with semantics and definitions. And then you try to take the high road and say, the fact that you posted a video about this shows me much character about you. And he's like posting videos about other people, how much like they're scammers and stuff. And I get it. Look, listen, I don't agree with the gurus either. I don't agree with them. And if you want to make, videos, um, criticizing them, that's your right. Just like I have the right to criticize other people have the right to criticize me. In fact, I tell other people all the time that I'm a cult leader. Wink, wink. Actually, let me look for that post. Yeah. I say, this is the ultimate payoff strategy. 30-year mortgage, 0%, pay off with 15% line of credit. If I could convince people to do this, I could convince them to join my cult. Actually, that's the Austin Powers laugh, Dr. Evil laugh. You know what's funny? Actually, let me just go back here and I go to a community and then I just type in cult, cult. uh, I actually said in many videos I'm a cult leader, and I just do this so that I can create a cult. Cult follower, cult at the beginning of each video. Hold on. You need to join the cult for a response. Banking cult. You are so arrogant and retitled. You forgot that I'm a cult leader. Thank you for being a devoted cult member, right? The cult continues. I am a cult member of your channel. Anyways, that was just a minor side point tangent. But my point is this, right? Basically, guys saying this whole thing is flawed. And I said, okay, well, if someone comes to you asking for help, do you turn them away because it's flawed? Didn't want to answer the question. Did not want to answer the question, and basically weaseled out because how he defines it matters, and we can't have different interpretations of the same thing. Now, let me repeat again. 89% of what I learned from Bernadas, and then eventually I made my own tweaks, right? Which is what people do, right? When Einstein learned science, he made a few tweaks. Actually, he came up with a whole new field of science, but you know what I mean, right? Things don't stay static. Velocity banking is a marketing term invented by Renatus for their version of accelerated debt payoff. I learned it. I made a few tweaks to it about how it's presented. And apparently that's not allowed. That is not allowed, folks. Even though in religion, academia, things get updated all the time. People sell new books, but with velocity banking, it's this orthodox thing that will never change, and it's only chunking, right? It's only chunking. Okay, just moving a loan into a piece of a loan into a line of credit like a mortgage. That's the only thing that counts as velocity banking, rather than using your line of credit as your main operating account, structuring your debt. Just a philosophy of making sure that your income isn't segregated. No, none of that counts. It's just this one aspect of it, one tiny aspect of it that I admit is heavily marketed by the other gurus, is the only thing that counts as velocity banking, right? According to him. We're not allowed to have different interpretations. Anyways, all right. So if you made it to the end of this video, this is what I want you to say, right? This. If you want to let me know you made it to the end of this video, just type in the comments below, I help people with their finances, because apparently we don't do velocity banking here, even though I've made over 700 videos on this channel. It's over 700. I did a live stream of this situation, this scenario, that apparently is not velocity banking. So just type in the comments below, I help people with my finances, because apparently that's what we do. We don't know anything about velocity banking. Okay. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next video.